Hey, what's up? It's Charles Manson's cousin back with another episode of the podcast. I had a wild fucking experience today, and I think I'm wearing the same clothes I was wearing 2 episodes ago, so let's get into it and have a great day. Alright, so as I stated, I had a wild fucking experience today. I woke up, drank a bunch of coffee as I usually do, smoked about 4,000 cigarettes, and thought I should clean my aquarium. I've got about 7 fish in there, and they looked like they needed a breath of fresh air. So I get everything out, clean the aquarium out, and I've been meaning to get a Plascostomus, I think is the word for it. It's a sucker fish, the one that like hits the wall and just hangs out, cleans the motherfucker for you. But so I was like, all right, I'm gonna clean that up, make some lunch, and go do this. Then I'm gonna work on my piece of shit car because I got to do that. Which it's actually in my garage right now with the garage door open. And instead of working on that, I'm telling you guys this story. So I head over to PetSmart, the only place to get fish where I live. There is no other place you can get fish. They've got it on lockdown. You know, corporate America is very good at just nobody else can do it. And Walmart used to sell them, and then they quit because there's no money in it, probably. And then there was a place locally that did it a long time ago, but they were briefly open. Pet stores, locally owned pet stores, they're a little creepy. They're just always, whoever owns them is never, I don't, I don't trust. I'll put it this way: I've never met a local pet store owner that I felt comfortable around, ever. If you guys know of one, bleep, bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop it in the comments. I've been watching too much Vive script, but yeah, put it in the comments if you know a good, trustworthy, locally owned pet store. So this will have 0 comments. But anyway, I go to PetSmart, and I'm in a hurry. I want to get home, work on the car. I go in. Naturally, there's 7,000 people looking at fish, and then finally the lady says, "Do you need help?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, this angelfish had caught my eye, and I said, "Yeah, I'd like to get 2 of those angelfish right there." And she says, "What gallon tank is it going in?" Never heard that question before, but I answered promptly and said 30. And she goes, "Well, I can't sell you 2 of those." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "They're territorial, and if you put 2 in a 30-gallon tank, they're going to fight and they'll die." And I was like, "All right, well, that sounds terrible." Now, I've had a couple angelfish in there before, and it wasn't like the UFC in water. It worked out. But I was like, all right, this lady obviously knows her shit. So she gets me 1. Then she says, "What do you want?" And I get to the big thing, the Plascostomus. And I'm like, the AKA suckerfish. I'm like, "Yeah, let me get a Plascostomus." And she goes, "What size tank did you say you had?" And I was like, 30. She goes, "Oh, I can't sell you one of those. Those need to be in a 55-gallon tank." And I was like, at this point, come on. So I just breathed and I said, "All right, well, I've bought them before, so I don't see an issue why I can't buy one now. And she goes on a speech. We have to take care of the animals. We can't send them to a death sentence. Like, goes full crazy on me. And I'm like, well, I don't do that. Now, she doesn't know this, but I once had a Plascostomus that lived for 7 years. And it got to be about a foot long, and then it eventually croaked. But that's life cycle. So this lady then just like is kind of going at me about not being able to sell me this thing. And I'm like, yeah, you can, lady, I just want to get my fish and get out of here, is what I said. And she starts to weep a little and says, I'm calling my assistant manager. And then her assistant manager comes over and he's like, asked me the same line of questioning. And I go, yeah, man, I just want to get my fish and get out of here. I've been coming here for over a decade. I've had an aquarium, and that was a lie because I actually got my aquarium about 9 years ago. But I've had multiple aquariums, so I have experience with the fish. And I was like, I've never had this problem before. And he says, we're gonna hook you up this one time. Okay, so I do my thing. Well, then me and the lady like have to be around each other for a little bit longer because I needed some tetras, and she had to do that. Blah blah blah. We talk a little bit, and it ends well. It's like, have a good day. Blah 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 blah. But it got me to thinking on the way home about customer service in corporate America. And you know what's hilarious about it is, like, this woman cared too much. And most people don't give a fuck. Like, my dad was in town for his birthday a couple of weeks ago, and we went to Walmart trying to find something, and these two guys come up, and I'm like, hey, and they didn't come up, they were walking by, I had to find them, and I'm like, hey man, do you know where this is? And he's like, let me look it up, and he goes immediately to the phone. And he helped me as much as he could. They didn't have them. No big deal. But like that, no one knows. No one knows what they're doing in these places. I don't know. I don't work there. And then we check ourselves out. It's like they got us by the balls. And so it's funny to me that this woman today was like she's over here. And then these guys that are having to look shit up on the phone are over here. And somewhere in the middle is probably where it ought to be with the customer service, And most of the time, it's those people that don't know anything about anything, right? But then I thought, holy shit, that's fucking everything anymore. Like, everything is far this way or far that way. And I just had to get on here and tell that story. And the irony of it was that this woman cared so much. And she really did care. She ended up telling me a story about her pleskostomus that lived to be 14 years old and 24 inches long, while she's supposed to be getting the fish out of the thing after we'd agreed that I could get the fish. She has to call in reinforcements to get the other people to fish. You could tell that the reinforcements were like, oh, it's fucking Debbie again with the speech. And I'm just like, just get the fish. I'm glad you had a pleskostomus for 14 years that lived to be 24 inches long and you transferred it back and forth from a pond to a fucking aquarium. But I need to get home. So just get the fish, bloop, put it in the bag, and I'm out. But this woman cared so much that she didn't do a good job at her job. That she's probably really happy to have because she loves fish. She's got to pump the brakes a little bit. And like, I got to pump the brakes sometimes. I've done shit with music where I fucking should have pumped the brakes and I did not pump them because I cared so much. So, caring too much can be a problem. It can really be a problem. Luckily, I don't care about this podcast, and it's just flies out at you, speed of light. But I was actually supposed to do a podcast yesterday, with someone I'm really excited to have on. We're going to cover the topic of sobriety. This person's been sober for, I think 13 years or some shit like that. Done real well with her life. didn't do so well with her life before sobriety, but she seems to be doing pretty good now. But I did something I hate at the last minute and flaked on her. But it worked out because she wanted to flake too. So that's going to be happening sooner than later. And I'm looking forward to having that conversation because that's something I think about all the time. You'll notice when I do the pod, I'm generally having a beer. I have switched to Bud Light. I'm hoping my figure is going to get better since it's diet beer. But I was drinking a lot of Bush, and it was just kind of like sometimes it would be too much, and this is like water. No, it's not. But it's a little bit less of it's less intense, you know. So, but when you've got a car that it 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 gets good for a second, and then it scares the shit out of you, and you have to fix it. You need something to calm the nerves. So Bud Light it is, and Lucky Strikes. But yeah, I'll be doing the pod with her about sobriety, and which is like I said, something I think about all the time, and I'm sure I know other people that do too. And eventually we'll do the Bronco 2 podcast. That's who knows when that's gonna happen. And yeah, so that's the big update on my Fish Hitler story. But that lady cared so much that she became Fish Hitler. You know, and Hitler cared about Germany. But he cared about it a little too much, and it didn't go that well. So, to everyone, including myself, let's do our best this week to try not to be Fish Hitler.